Hope Channel, changing lives.
I don't want it anymore. Hi, good evening and welcome to the program, Wounds of the Heart. We are here to heal any wounds of the heart that has been caused emotionally, psychologically, physically, or whatever that has caused your heart wounds. This evening I have a wonderful guest and she's going to lead us through this sensitive topic that has been running through our society every now and then. Every blessed day, if you wake up and you don't hear anything that's internationally, then which means that it doesn't exist. If you want to follow the program, you know what to do on our WhatsApp platform 0559-680066, 0559-680066. We are live on Facebook, Hope TV GH. You can share to your other contact or on your Facebook page. And we are also live on YouTube, that is Hope TV GH YouTube. You can subscribe and also let your people have it. The fabric is proudly sponsored by Sleeker Freak. Sleeker Freak, they are into fabrics. Please don't go to the market. Please just call and they will come and they will just deliver it at your doorstep. The Sleeker Freak, they always make me look sleek. And a guy who has been designing my fly is called Alpha Art. Alpha Art is also good in terms of flies and here and there. If you need anything like that, please, the contact is 0551 404 387, 0551 404 387, and the Sleek Africa number is 0557 355 852. As I said, that we still need sponsorship for this program, Wounds of the Heart, because we want to carry it to another level. So if you have any link or any contact, please do so to this line 0559 535554. We're very glad to work with you. Today I have someone in our midst. I want to say so much about her. I'll just say a line or two. And after that, I'll introduce her for my viewers to know who is on the studio. Although probably you have seen her face on the flyer, but you're going to hear something about her. She's a lecturer, a clinical psychologist, and a lecturer at the University of Ghana, Legon. She's a doctor, and also she's has published a lot of journals and in the areas of dynamics relating to parenting children. So she's good in that aspect. And you can also privately seek her consent when it comes to clinical matters or psychological issues. I have with me here Dr. Mabel Oti Wedi. Doc, good evening.
Good evening.
And welcome to my program, Wounds of the Heart.
Thank you.
Doctor, as a clinical psychologist, I have had a lot of people passing through my program, but what specifically do you guys do?
Okay, thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome, Doctor.
Clinical psychologists, basically we deal with clinical issues or psychological problems, more clinical in nature or social in nature. So could be depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, and could also be social problems like marriage, delinquency, and so on. So we deal with several issues when it comes to clinical.
But I learned you guys that your charge is expensive, so a lot of people can't get connected with you people. How true is that?
I don't know where you heard that from, but we work just like the medical doctors do or any other specialist. When you go and see a specialist, there's a charge. And then subsequently there are, other charges. So when you come to us, it's not for free, though. But you can negotiate depending on your status. You can negotiate. We are not there just for money. We are there to help. So when you need help, go to. Now we are very fortunate. Many of the clinics and hospitals have resident clinical psychologists you can speak to. Or they are private ones like me. I'm into private practice.
Okay.
So you can see one who can, negotiate with you, and then, to your level, you know, so that we don't want to leave you. To go with your problems. We want to help you deal with them. So, whatever it takes, we do help. Yeah.
All right. So you heard from her. Just as we go to the hospital to see a doctor, you can similarly go to them sick, because they work in the minds of people psychologically, because that is what they do. Matthew chapter 27, verse number 4 and 5. The Bible says that, saying, I have sinned by betraying innocent blood. And they said, what is that to us? You see to it. Then he threw down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed, and went and hanged himself. And this is one of the guys Jesus picked, disciple called Judas. Hanged himself, and from in our studies we'll call it suicide. Doc, as a clinical psychologist, what is suicide?
Okay, thank you. Suicide basically is a deliberate attempt, purposefully, deliberate, purposely taking your life. So it's not like it was just an accident. You do it to end it. That's suicide.
Planned, deliberately means that, that they have been planned?
Yes. So it cannot be by accident. Suicide is purposeful.
Okay.
It is deliberate.
Okay.
It's direct.
Okay.
So
now, as you're saying, it's deliberate means that it is well planned, and the time comes for the person to take. Are there some forms of suicide? Is it one-way side, or there are a lot of areas in which forms of suicide when it comes to deliberately taking one's life? Okay.
So, like I said, it's a sad situation, and it's something that brings a lot of pain to many families, and people do it through all kinds of ways, either by hanging, or by using firearms, or by taking insecticides.
Of
course, pesticides or whatever, whether it's a cleaning agent like parazone or whatever, and then poisons, And so, hanging is the highest. Hanging in terms of people hang on maybe a tree or a ceiling or something with a rope around their necks. That's about 60.9%. That is based on some studies conducted by Edinkra, in Ghana. You have hanging as one of the commonest forms of suicide. And then you have use of firearms, like a gun, or, and that's about 16.5%.
Oh, they're very low.
And then you have the injection of insecticides, just about 10.7%.
I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah, they are there, So if you read my profile, you see that I'm part of a research group called Center for Suicide and Violence Research. At the University of Ghana.
Oh, then I'm not lost. I have you here. I'm not lost.
Yeah, of course. So we have gone into much research on suicide, and then picked on others that have been done.
Okay.
And then trying to look at the issues, what's happening, and what we can do in terms of training and all that. So these are some of the studies. I'll give you what we have done, but based on the forms, based on Edinkra studies, that's what I've given you. And so those are the forms of suicide.
Okay. Yeah. But before then, why is it that the hanging is the most commonest, according to the research?
Basically, I think that's what is most people know.
Okay.
And that's what is available, to most people. you know, down here, you don't have many people having access to, even though, I mean, in recent times, you hear people have guns and so on, but they are not easy to come by, unlike the ropes and all that people use and all kinds of things, I mean, to hang, and so that is quite common. Okay. So that's what, and then since childhood, people use, people know that even children taking Parazone, Dettol, and so on, and it is deadly, you know. So they know that when you drink such stuff, you may die. So those are some of the things people take, like Parazone, like Dettol, the Akasha, you know, and all that, just to be able to, I mean, die and not attempt. You know, I mean, most of the time, people go into this kind of behavior not to just do it and then leave it, but most people want to complete it, but it's not all the time that it gets completed. And that's when we have attempted suicide, you know. You know, so I mean, those are the issues. So
statistically, globally and locally, when we talk about suicide, in your research that you guys have made, what education will you give to us about suicide statistically?
So, like I said, suicide is a global phenomenon. You know, it's all over the place. Every country has to do with issues of suicide, and then the WHO is taking keen interest in that because it's something that is worrying, because you have about 700,000 to 800,000 people dying every year from suicide. And so currently they've come out with a document called Live Life, you know, that they've come out with strategies to prevent suicide. So each one of these deaths is a tragedy, and the impact on the families are dire, you know. So it's the second leading cause of death. You know, and following motor accidents. You know, so, and among youths and the young adults, it's very common, you know. And in Ghana, about 8-10 years ago, we didn't have much statistics on suicide, but we had the police having some records, I mean, records on suicide. So, for instance, between 2006 to 2008, you had about 287 people engaged in the act, with 243 having fatal outcomes, you know. And then between 2009 to 2011, you had, we had 374 of the cases with 308 deaths. So just a few of them couldn't complete it. And then in recent times, that is between 2015 and 2016, you had 77 of suicide, 2016 79, and attempted 42 and 43 respectively. So I mean, these have been reported by the police, and this is an indication that it's a mental health problem. It's a public health problem, and it's also a crime. You know,
why is suicide a crime?
let me. I'll come there.
Okay, then I'll be very glad.
Now let me continue with the statistics.
Yes,
so over the past 8 to 10 years, the Center for Suicide and Violence Research at Legon have conducted research. And some of the statistics are that 1 in 10 adults in rural communities in Ghana think about taking their lives. 1 in 10 adults. So yes, so when we have 10 people, one of them, and then 3 in 10 JHS students have attempted suicide in the past year.
3 in JHS students?
Yes, in 10 JHS students have attempted suicide in the past year. And then you have 2 out of 10 SHS students also attempting suicide in the past year. And then you have 1 out of 10 deaf adolescents.
Not attempt, death.
No, I'm saying deaf. Students who are deaf.
Okay, oh, okay.
1 out of 10. And so it cuts across, you know, and 2 in 10 policemen.
Policemen?
Yes, policemen, you know, in recent times you heard about that.
One who shot him.
And then 3 of the recent bank crisis, you know, the staff, 3 of them out of 10. And the survivors have contemplated suicide. Okay. So these are some of the statistics we have.
That's beautiful.
You know, and these are, we can say, suicide is very common amongst adolescents, you know.
Than the young people.
Of course, I mean, adolescence is a very difficult period. You know, many young people are getting to know who they are, I mean, finding their identities, and they have lots of conflicts with their parents and their friends, relationship problems, and so on. So most of the time, unfortunately, some point in their lives, they see suicide as a solution a permanent solution. So why don't I die? So recently you heard about the young lady. With all my apologies and sympathies to the family. You heard some of them saying it wasn't suicide, some of them saying it was suicide, but I think the autopsy indicated that there was some sort of suffocation, you know. Okay. So it's something that it's happening, you know, and there are triggers. And some people don't believe it. Some people think it's a myth, I mean, you know, and all that. You were asking me why suicide is a crime. Yes, suicide is a crime in our law books, in our criminal code. I mean, when you look at the 1960 Criminal Code Act 29, Section 57, it says that whoever attempts to commit suicide shall be guilty of misdemeanor.
So why aren't we looking at the psychological aspect of the person's life then? Criminalizing the act.
Okay.
Probably whoever will try to take his life or her life probably might be going through something. Okay.
So I cannot really tell why we have it in our criminal code, but you know, laws are based on the rules and norms we have in our society and even our religious beliefs, you know. So, I mean, it could be, you know, you read the scriptures, in some parts of the scriptures, you're not supposed to take your own life and all that. So these are some of the things that it's like it's a crime to take your own life. So in Ghana too, and just like many developing or less developed countries, you have suicide still under criminal in the criminal code. Most developed countries have been able to take it off, considering the fact that it's a more of a psychological problem than a criminal problem. But you see that even when you come into our culture, people who attempt suicide or who commit suicide are seen as outcasts. You know, you are a coward. Your family couldn't deal with your problems. That's why you attempted suicide. When you come into our religion, it's like you're a sinner. If you attempt suicide, then you should be punished by maybe hellfire or something, you know. So, I mean, these are some of the things that I think have contributed to it being on our books or in our books. But we are doing a lot of advocacy for it to be removed. Center for Suicide and Violence Research, we are leading. Other mental health professions, we have the Mental Health Authority. All of us, we've written a series of letters to Parliament to actually deal with it because it's not working as seen as a crime, you know. And so we are doing lots of training for our judges, for our policemen, for our queen mothers, people who are involved when it comes to criminalizing suicide. So now you could actually have some policemen, some judges who would then actually make somebody who has attempted suicide stand trial for whatever, but rather would refer to see a psychologist for help. So, but it's still there anyway.
Yeah, your point. Viewers, where it picked me was the fact that suicide is very common in adolescent, with adolescent. In fact, you might have your little cousin, your child, your daughter, your son somewhere, somebody staying with you in that stage. Please, let's be mindful, although we're going to talk about the signs and triggers, whatever, but I pray that you learn those things so that you can also be observant when such persons are living that way, so that we can be able to curtail the act of suicide in our community. In case you have a question for her, you want to comment or something, please, on a Facebook page, you go there, you type, we'll read it for you, but you can also send it on WhatsApp platform 0559 680066, 0559 680066, and I'll read the question for her to answer. All right, so you mentioned a myth. I've heard that when suicide is a curse. I don't know, when somebody is cursed, those who commit suicide are, the families have been cursed of suicide, and at least one out of the family and every generation will commit suicide. I don't know how true these are. What are some of the myths surrounding suicide?
Okay, so like if you said maybe there's a curse on the family. So once somebody has committed suicide or attempted suicide, it means all the other people. I mean, for us in the field of science, we may not say it's a curse. We would rather say there is some genetic undertones in these. I mean, some studies have shown that actually there are some genetic implications when, especially mothers who have attempted suicide, are very likely to have their offsprings also attempt suicide. I mean, not a how do you call it, a particular gene, suicidal gene though, but some studies have seen some of these running in some families, you know, just as you have other mental health conditions like depression, anxiety running through families. But most of the time people say when somebody tells you that I want to kill myself or I want to die, they don't mean it. You know, they don't mean it. They mean it. What I want you to know is that they are telling you that because they need help.
Okay.
You see, because they need help. Okay. Nobody attempts suicide out of the blue. People attempt suicide because they want to escape some suffering. Okay. You know, and they can't see any other alternative. All they see is the death. That's the solution. So if they are talking to you about it, it means that they need help. Okay. Others would also say, oh, it just happened. We don't know. It didn't show anything. Nobody attempts suicide or commits suicide without showing it. It comes with something. It's the person shows you some signs, tells you something. So it could be verbal, it could be behavioral. You know, the person could be isolating him or herself. Sometimes not talking so much, very quiet and all that. Then you should be able to approach such a person and get to know what's going on. And then someone who is suicidal is determined to die. Like I told you, I mean, it's deliberate though, but you know, they wish they could get an escape. Okay. But they also don't see any escape or any alternative, you know. So they're ambivalent about living or dying, you know, even though, like I said, it's purposeful. I mean, there's a plan and all that, you know. So, and once someone is suicidal, the person is always going to be suicidal. It's not true. It's not true. Okay. It's not like, you know, it's not true. Okay. It's not a permanent thing. Okay. It's usually short-lived, you know, and individuals with suicidal thoughts, if they are able to get proper interventions, could actually live longer. You know, some time ago we met a gentleman who was suicidal, and we listened to the issues and realized that they were actually financial. We provided just about 200 CDs, and he started using to sell petty things.
That's all.
He's still around.
That is so.
You know, so I mean, in this part of our world, many people go into such behaviors because of financial issues. You know, financial issues, and only people with mental disorders are suicidal. It's not true.
It's not true. Okay.
No. Suicidal behaviors, though, could indicate a deep sense of unhappiness. There are other people who do not have mental health problems who could also take their lives, you know. So it's not just that, oh, she has a depression or anxiety, that's why she's attempting. No, anybody. It could be financial.
Okay.
And the person will just take their life, you know. And then talking about suicide, this is one thing that I want you to take note of. Talking about suicide is a bad idea. It can be interpreted as encouraging.
Come again with this point.
Like people say, you shouldn't talk about suicide. If you talk about it, the person will go and do it.
Okay.
You know, no. The nature of this situation is such that most people who are contemplating it do not know who to speak to, actually. So if somebody, or you realize that there are some signs you are seeing on someone, the best thing is to rather talk to the person and then let the person know that there's still hope around whichever situation he or she finds himself. But if you keep quiet over it, the person will do it. And then you would regret not saying anything. You know, so it's better to talk than to keep quiet. If you keep quiet, it means that you are actually colluding with this person to commit that or go into such situation, you know. So it's better that you talk openly and give the person other options. You know, I lost my parent, I lost a friend, I lost a loved one, I can't live. Life is not worth living. So you can tell the person that even though you have lost your loved one, there is still this available for you. What about your children? They are living for you. What about them? You know, so let the person see the other side of it than just focusing on losing the loved one, you know. So those are some of the myths, and the facts are that all those are not true. All the things I've said, that if you are suicidal, you are going to be suicidal throughout your life. It's not true.
All right.
People talk, I'm sad, I'm worried, I want to die, life is not worth living, I want to go to heaven. They want to draw your attention to something, so give them the ear.
All right.
Listen.
So have you ever tried to take your life before? Have you ever tried that? What caused that? Why did you want to do that? You can send us your take or your comment, whatever, however you want to, just send it. You can just take out your name away or bring a name that is not familiar. If you are afraid of stigmatization, we read, because in as much as we want to heal people, it's also a learning area for people also to know that when people start doing this thing, we should understand that A, B, C, D is wrong somewhere, so we need to quickly help the person out of that aspect. I will go for a break, but before then I would like Doc to talk about some key issues when it comes to suicide that you and I should be well abreast of. Doc, briefly, what are some of the key issues when it comes to suicide that you think it will be good for my viewers to know?
Okay, thank you. One thing I want viewers to know is that suicide is not a disease. Even though most people think it is, it's a behavior. You know, it's a behavior, and it's not a biological anomaly. Though I've talked about some genetic factors that may play a role, it is not an immorality. Once you have attempted suicide, then you are for hell. It is not true. And it's not a crime. You see, we should all be concerned about this aspect. Nobody would just take a knife or a rope and want to die just like that. There's something that should be pushing the person to do it, you know. And So why do we treat it as a crime? You know, so we've already talked about that.
Exactly.
And there is, remember that there is always an internal logic in every suicide. There is an internal logic that this is the reason I should die. You know, it's like you would think that, oh, why should you die? Life is nice, everything is, why? Some people say, oh, maybe I see it, you know? Why should you? But the person can explain to you, and then you see that it's logical.
Exactly.
You know, and then every suicide has a history. Every suicide has a history that must be heard. So it's important that we listen. You know, you don't just brush it off. Listen to what is going on, and then you will see why the person is in that situation and how best you can help. So suicide is not a disease. It's not immorality. It's not a crime.
It's not a crime.
There is always an internal logic. So find out and then get to know this, listen, and then how best you can help. So those are some of the key issues
so much.
I want you to
it is intriguing. I've never gone deep in what you just said. Today I've learned something, the key point. Viewers, we're going for this quick break. When we return, there are messages on Facebook that I'll read it for all of us to hear. So please don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
Hope Channel presents an evening of gratitude and praise featuring Besdak Praise.
Jesus takes me into his loving arms.
Special guest, Pastor Dr. Divine Aivo.
But my friends, when the storms come, don't dismay. There is a man who can rebuke it on your behalf. There is a man who can tell those storms, peace, be still, and the devil will leave you alone.
Date 26 June 2021, 4 p.m. live on Hope Channel.
We want to defy our family's decision and get married or elope. I need advice. What should I do?
Please, what should I do?
How do I tell her I cheated on her months ago? I need help. What should I do?
Okay, so for me, the moment I read the story, the first thing that came to mind was, wow, knowledge is indeed power. Sometimes we go through situations because we have no knowledge of how to go about them.
If you come from a home like that, you are likely to accept anything the outsider would, direct at.
The fact that you had an interesting ceremony where a priest prayed and all of that doesn't mean that magically you have turned into something else.
If he finds his way to God, a Bible-believing church, and he goes and he wants to change, nothing is
he giving
impossible.
His properties to charity and stuff?
Oh no, why? Okay, I think this is another discussion that we will not end today, so we'll not even go into it.
Real Talk, showing this and every Wednesday at 8 p.m.
For the lack of knowledge you will perish, as the Bible says in Hosea 4 verse 6.
The grace, the blood of Jesus is there for us. So I can't be sick. I can't be poor. I cannot suffer affliction.
Jesus told you, be faithful unto death to receive the crown of life. We have to go through tribulation. We have to go through problems, because there will be no crown without a cross.
The verse says that we would go through afflictions because of his name's sake.
Yes.
There are lots of eye-opening discussions to prepare you for the second coming of Jesus Christ. Join us as we watch the signs with Pastor Kwabena Chum on Hope Channel this and every Thursday at 4 p.m.
Chaplain. Hello, Peter.
How do you do?
How do you do?
It's been a while.
Yes, it has.
I hope you're well.
Oh, yes, we are. And what about you?
Doing well, by God's grace.
All right. Thank
Chaplain, this reminds me. The last time at church, you made this presentation about Jesus Christ and God, and there's this question that's been bothering my mind.
Okay, let's hear it.
Who is Jesus Christ?
Okay, so as I said, Jesus is God and then he is man.
Chaplain, this is rather confusing. I mean, how can God become man? I believe he's either God or man.
Okay, so Peter, we can have the long talk here, but why don't you join me on Hope Bible School?
Hope Bible School?
Yes, Hope Bible School. This is an interactive and in-depth study of the Bible, where Bible students study the Bible to know what it truly means.
Oh, okay, this is good news.
You can invite your friends to watch on TV or online.
You know, I'll tell my friends and family to tune in.
I'm nowhere close to
From the break, thank you so much for staying with me. I have on Facebook. He said, "Hello, I'm watching you live from Bekwai, Erickson Odro. Erickson, God bless you for watching us from Bekwai. God bless you. You can share on your platform for people also to also watch and be educated." James Boachi Fojo, elder from Elder Dr. James JB Fojo. Elder, I told you we need to meet because you always comment on my program. God bless you of Penkwase SD, watching you live from Sunyani. Thank you for this very important discussion. Elder, God bless you for all the time being with me on this program. And Betty Aban, he said, may I ask him, we can help someone who already have committed suicide? Is there any signs? Is there signs? Someone who already have committed suicide? See, who have tried and it's alive. I don't know if Betty could come again with a message. Doc, I don't. He said, may I ask, how can we help someone who already have committed suicide?
Maybe I think the person wants to say the person has attempted suicide. Okay. So there are.
Then we come to the signs. Then I think
there are several things that could be done. Okay. I mean, there are therapies. The person should be made to see a psychologist, to be assessed, and then taken through therapy, family counseling, and so on, to be able to help the person, I mean, provide some alternatives for the person in terms of life goals and so on. So there's help once you seek it. Yeah.
All right. So, Doc, the conversation is still ongoing. I told you if you want to comment on Facebook Live, Hope TVGH, and on WhatsApp platform 0559-680066. If you have ever tried to end your life, you can share with us how and what brought it up, so that we can also read for people to listen and to also pick something out from that. I don't know whether criminalizing suicide was what you were talking about earlier on. Then you said that you are still fighting and pushing for. We hope and pray that that thing will help for us not to criminalize suicide, but rather will refer those people who had, because it's not clear when somebody wants to kill himself or herself, or you want to add something to criminalizing the suicide. Let's move on.
Yeah, you can move on because, like I said, suicide is a complex phenomenon, you know. It doesn't just come out of the blue. So people don't just get up and kill themselves. They are in what we call emotional pain.
Emotional pain,
you know. So they see no other option than death. So if you want to put this person in jail or find this person, then you're not doing anything right for the person. At the end of the day, the person would not be able to come out. Some even end up dying in jail, you know, and all that. So,
so I think this is the aspect people are waiting for. What are the causes and the risk factors when it comes to suicide?
Okay. Many people, like you said, many people ask, what could actually lead somebody to kill themselves? Is it unemployment? Is it poverty? Whatever. But like I said, suicide is complex, and so only one factor cannot contribute to it. They are multifaceted, you know, so many factors. You could have mental illness, you know, it's not a cause, actually it's a risk factor. You know, mental illnesses like depression, bipolar, schizophrenia. And you know that globally there are about more than 300 million people suffering from depression. You know, so people with depression, people with anxiety, people with antisocial behaviors may not necessarily display suicidal behavior, you know. But if you have more than one of these conditions, depression, or you could have bipolar, you could have schizophrenia, it increases your risk. You know, it increases your risk of, I mean, being suicidal, you know, but there is not a causal relationship. It's maybe it's correlational. You know, and then you could have relationship problems as a risk factor. You know, my boyfriend has left me, my girlfriend has left me, divorce, you know, failure to marry or inability to get somebody to marry you. You know, people will be asking, when are you marrying? When are you marrying? You are 35, you are 40. When are you giving birth? When you know, all those things actually have an impact on people's minds, and so could lead them into going into such behaviors, financial problems. Like I was giving the example, somebody just needed 200 cedis, and then the person was attempting suicide, you know. So poverty, unemployment are all risk factors. Health issues, people with chronic problems like cancer, treated, nothing is happening, HIV, and even in recent years, COVID. You know, there's been a relationship between COVID-19 and mental health conditions, and even suicide. Some people or somebody has lost every member of the family. So what was he doing in this world? So he jumped and died. You know, so health issues, we have history of abuse, people who are exposed to domestic abuse. A person is bitten like a punch bag all the time, using a knife on them, using shoes on them. What am I living for? You see, it could be a risk factor. You have the media, we'll talk about that. We have family history, like I said, some genetics, social support. Now, in many of our communities, our societies, it's like each one for himself, God for us all. So myself and my family, we are, I mean, taking care of ourselves. You don't matter, you know. So when somebody is having a problem, we don't care. We come to church and then we eat alone. Then after that, we go home and then have our rest. And we think we have, I mean, we are Christians or whatever. No. People are lacking social support. That is leading them into these behaviors. Stigma. Many conditions around us are stigmatized, like disabilities. You know, the person doesn't have one leg or has only one leg. A person has this condition, that condition. The stigma alone, you are not worth it. We can't talk to you. You cannot be part of us. You see, so the person feels down, is not able to seek help, and feels that, well, nobody wants me around. So the best thing is to die. Cultural expectations. As a man, you are 30 years. What have you done for yourself? You haven't built a house. You don't own a car, you know? And so what are you doing?
Still living with your parents.
Of course. And then they say all kinds of things. So if you don't have it, then what do you do? Why am I living? Because everybody is expecting that at a point in life, you should be able to do that, you should be able to do that. Even when you have a problem as a man in our community, you can't express it, you can't cry. Because men don't cry, you know. So people could actually keep issues within and then continue to brood over it until something happens to them. You lose your father, you lose your mother. All these are potential risk factors. And sometimes when people have easy access to knives, guns, tablets, you know, scattered all over the place. You know, you put knives around, you put guns around, you put these liquids around. people get easy access to them, and then once they have contemplated it, they can use it, you know. So these are all risk factors. So one thing I want you to know is that in suicide, the pain to die is more intense than the fear to die. The pain to die is more intense.
Drugs, or I'm hanging myself. What I go through.
It's more intense than the fear to die. So it's like, hey, aren't you afraid to die? No. At that point, the person's not thinking of the fear of death, but the pain they are going through. Exactly. So their very existence is threatened, you know. So I have to go because I'm in so much pain. You don't care about like the thing is going to squeeze your neck, or you're going to have problems with your tummy before you die. You know, that doesn't come in at all. You know, so the pain to die is more intense than the fear to die. And like I said early on, amongst adolescents, these are very key, especially with adolescents. In our studies, we found that academic work is one key factor that propels adolescents to attempt suicide. It's like I failed my paper, or comments from teachers, you know, you are not a good student, you are bad, you are worse, what can become of you, you know. Some teachers do make such comments, and even parents, you know. So academic work, it's one thing that is actually pushing many adolescents into suicide. Death of a family, like a father, a mother, or even divorce. You know, now divorce is on the ascendancy. We only think about ourselves as mothers and fathers. I don't love him anymore. I don't want to live with him anymore. I don't love her anymore, so I'm leaving. But have you thought of the children? You've not thought about them. I'm not saying that when your life is being threatened, you should stay in your marriage, you know. But all I'm saying is that divorce actually affects the psychology of children. And so you should be very tactful when you are dealing with it, because some children could end up ending their lives because they don't know who to run to when they have problems. And sometimes to bullying in school, you know, that you are not a nice person, you are not beautiful, look at your head, you know, look at your shoe. You know that, I mean, some children do it to their peers, and if you are a parent and you do not get to know about this, to address this issue, it actually reduces their self-esteem, you know, and then it could trigger this. And then sometimes hearing about a friend dying of suicide. It's something that has been found to trigger suicide in adolescents. You know, this my friend, they said she died, she hanged herself. So me too, when I have a problem, I'll also hang myself, you know. So these are some of the triggers or the risk factors. There are so many. But like I have mentioned, financial issues, family conflicts, you know, with I want to do this course, you cannot do it, you cannot be a doctor, you should be a lawyer, you know, all those problems with adolescents at home and even as adults. Family conflicts could also serve as a risk factor.
I'm even soaked. So with this causes and risk factors you've given in terms of male and female, which persons are prone into taking their life than the other person?
Okay, so studies have shown that females are the ones who attempt suicide most of the time, but they are not able to complete it than males.
Why?
Maybe because they are not as bold as the men, you know. Many men or males are able to complete because they use more lethal weapons like guns, you know, knives and all that. You have women rather would go in for the tablets and, you know, and all that, and they could be rescued in time than a man who would want to shoot himself or I mean, cut himself with a knife or something, you know. So they all do it though, but more often than not, males complete it. And they complete it more than females.
Okay, viewers, it is past 5. We've not gotten anywhere. We've not gotten anywhere.
Maybe we can talk about the warning signs
we have the warning signs and
the end.
The rest of the effect of suicide, and especially one thing I'm so much interested. I want Doc to deal with is families' relationship with people who have attempted suicide, and sometimes you think that it is or trying home, open fans, kind of those words, and there's, as you said, there's something. So how best can family members relate to people who have? But that is as I'm saying. So please, you can't watch this thing and stop. Not watch next week's on, because it's a continuation. You need to understand what we are going, so that you can learn something to help somebody who is at home in your church, a family member that wouldn't or dare not try to commit suicide. Dr. Mabel Otibwedi was my guest for today, a lecturer at the University of Ghana, Legon, with a psychological department, and she's a clinical psychologist herself and a private one. So if she want to leave, Doc, do you want to leave a contact in case somebody want to talk to you or something, or you want to finish with the whole?
Yes.
Okay, so Doc, after we are done with the whole study and how best we're going to heal other people, Doc will put her contact for all of us to know if you need her.
But let me leave some hotlines.
Okay, there are hotlines in case somebody around you or somebody you heard is going. You can call this line. She want to put across them, or bring the curtain down.
Okay. Let me just.
And once she's going through the contact, I would like to appreciate Slick Afrik for the fabric. Slick Afrik on Instagram, Slick Afrik, Facebook, Slick Afrik. Choose a fabric, and please call them, and they will deliver it at your doorstep. And Alpha Art, the one who always design my flyer, God bless you. If you Instagram Alpha Art, Facebook Alpha Art _ graphics. So please, you can also contact him for your good works, and he'll be of help to you. Doc, have you?
So.
Okay, so that is for them, and you, the viewer. God bless you all the time for being with us on the program. Doc is still searching. Because of you, she's still going through the hotline to give us lines that in case there's somebody at a neighbor or a student, a friend, a colleague is posing some threats, you can also call this line for an immediate help. Doc, are you ready? Okay.
I'll be with you soon. Okay. I don't know, my phone is freezing.
And those, so Regina Ajman says this program is very nice. Regina Ajman, God bless you. Next time, add where you are testing from, so that people will know that Regina is also watching us from here. And those of us who commented on Facebook, God bless you for that. And those who are watching at home, God bless you for that. And Doc is done. After Doc,
okay. So the Mental Health Authority has some temporary suicide helplines.
Okay.
We have the national helplines, 020 681 4666
4666,
and then we have 050 344 4793. That's the national helpline, but there are other ones, regional, that I can
give Accra for now.
Okay.
Then when you are done, we'll just
Greater Accra, we have 0244
for Greater Accra.
24 99 28.
So this is for Greater Accra. By the time we are done with this program, we're going to roll all the regional contacts. So wherever you're watching us from, if your region falls under any of the contact, you can pick it up for future use in case to help somebody. I've been your regular host, and with me today was Dr. Mabel Otibwedi. She was my guest for today. She'll be here next week, Wednesday, to finish what we've started. I've been your regular host, and the name is Pastor Daniel Bideba. I'm out.
changing lives.
Let's go, Nina.